No. um, it just sort of happened. Initially, when I was young, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and then ended up in the world of business, and this is sort of where I've ended up. I can't say media interviews, right? I'm kidding. No, the most boring part is the part, I wouldn't say it's boring, but the part I enjoy the least is probably doing some of the forecasts we have to do. We do 12 forecasts a year, which is a lot of forecasting. Most people would do an annual planning or semi-annual. We do it every month. So setting the strategy is fun. That's exciting. As a team, we come together, we see where the opportunities are, we see where our strengths match. But then every month, sort of trying to explain what's happening in the macroeconomy and how it affects the company, that becomes a little harder. There's a lot of volatility in our part of the world. We have devaluation, we have fuel price changes, cost of living increases. All of these play a part. So when you project out, okay, next month we think average fare is going to be a certain amount, and all of a sudden there's a fuel price increase, and then you raise fares to combat that. Now your forecast is not necessarily the most accurate. It's taught me to be more authentic. I think that's very important. I am who I am. I have strengths, I have weaknesses. I do my best to help the team grow. I think it's a constant learning process. When I look back to when I started Uber a couple of years ago, there's a lot that I've learned in that time, and you're constantly evolving. You're constantly learning new things. You read about a new strategy, you read about a new tool or a new process, try and implement it, you experiment, you see what works. I think Uber, it's a great culture of experimenting. We're always trying to innovate, we're always trying to find the best solution. That means it's also iterative learning, and it's the same with leadership. There's certain meetings that may have been extremely relevant 2 years ago, and now we no longer need those types of meetings. We need different ones. We need different cadences, different people in the room, always learning and evolving. Hard question to answer. I'm someone who's currently been very focused on 2 areas of life. The first one is work. My job demands a fair few hours and a fair bit of commitment and dedication, which I'm very happy to give. But at the same time, I also have a young family, so I also try and balance a lot on having a good family life. So I always try and get home on time for bedtime, and weekends I'll always try and create some dedicated time with the family.
Oh, kids, young ones.
Yes, 2-year-old and 3-year-old. So very young, sometimes rough nights, but yeah, weekends are, you look forward to that time with them. I think it all depends on the team that you have with you, right? You have a good team with a spouse that handles a lot of the things, and then you don't need to do as much necessarily. And the same with work. If you're surrounded by skilled people, you've built a good team, then it's a pleasure doing both. Of course, there's always challenges and you need to get involved, but a lot is about the team. I think we were raised in a different world. I think back now to the days of tapes and VHS and rewinding them and waiting all that time. Now it's content on demand, everything is on demand. The world has become so small. It's become so competitive. You're constantly exposed to what other people are doing, and it's important to try and stay grounded. You can't do everything all the time. So even if this person's doing this and that person's doing that, you sort of try and stay true to yourself, and you do what you think is right. It's trying to drink out of a fire hose when you try and learn from everything that's happening in the world. But you stick to your core beliefs, try and do the right thing and go with that. I was very blessed. I had a good childhood just up the road in Lavington. Had a very tight family unit. We'd have annual holidays every year to the beach, which would just be those days when you're very young and summer seems endless. those days were always the best, right? You just spend good quality time with the family. We'd go to Mombasa every year, spend time on the beach, swim. So very, very happy childhood. When I was very young, I didn't have one. When I was in high school, my nickname became Biscuits because of House of Manji. And I am Manji, Biscuits. So it went from Manji Biscuits to Biscuits. So that became my nickname. I think my love of reading. When I was young, I would have a book in my hand at all times. I'd go out for dinner with my parents and I'd be sitting there reading my book. My poor brother would be forced to talk to my parents and talk to the other adults because I was just reading all the time. I remember once I was in Las Vegas and I had this habit of reading while I was walking everywhere. So I was following my parents around in this gigantic casino. They were looking for a restaurant where we could have dinner. I was following them and happily reading, and then I suddenly noticed I was following the wrong people. So I noticed that, got a little bit scared, then traced my path back to the last place where I met them, where the last restaurant we'd been to, sat on the floor, continued reading. 25 minutes later, my parents come rushing back to find me. I had a good book, so I was okay. I think one of the most relevant in recent times has been Atomic Habits by James Clear. Fantastic book, fantastic books. Small changes having compounding effects. That's true in your personal life, that's true in your professional life. If you strive to get 1% better each day, change is enormous. So I think that's a book that's very important and has, I'll always recommend that to people because I believe that can really change your lives by not just putting in the goals, but putting in place the systems that let you get to where you want to go. I think that's important. For me, I hate the gym. I love playing sport. I love playing football and squash and now paddle, tennis, but going to the gym and lifting weights is something that I really struggle with. And now, as you age, resistance training becomes more important. So I'm forcing myself to get in that habit and sort of try and build the enjoyment, use willpower to create the habit, and then sort of let it go into autopilot. I think the thing I'm probably the most proud of is always trying to be a good person and try to do good. I think that's something that I would not normally say it in an interview. I would shy away from that, but I think that's important. When you look back on your week, on your month, on your year, at the end of your life, what are you proud of? What have you done that has positively impacted the world, that has positively changed the lives of people, even if it's small? I think that's something that's the sort of the ethics behind which I try and live my life, and I think that's what I go with. It's an exciting industry. Uber, it's incredible. It's so data driven. It's so tangible. You're having a direct impact on thousands and thousands of people every single day. So when you make a change that is well received, we launched audio recording last year, which lets you record the audio in a trip. That has a material impact on people's lives. We have an emergency dispatch system, which gives you security response, medical response, or ambulances. You're having a real impact on people's lives like that. And when you're doing it for the better, then how do you not get up every day and say, yes, let's do this, let's make a difference. I think it's a lot about family. Being the best father I can be for my kids, being the best husband I can be, best son I can be, the best sibling that I can be, providing for my family, ensuring that they're taken care of, but also at the same time, raising good kids. We all, as parents, strive to raise good kids and teach them good values. It can be challenging in today's world, but that's probably what I strive for. If you ask my wife, she's going to say father. I think I was a decent husband. I think above average, good husband. And I think after kids, I've become less good of a husband, but a good father. And the reality is, it's just the time aspect of it. I wish that I had a bit more time and energy to devote to being a better husband. But come Friday evening, come Saturday evening, sometimes you're just tired, and you don't necessarily have the energy to go out and go for a nice date night, as important as that is. So I'd say, I've been focusing on being a good father, but definitely want to also make sure that I be a good husband as well. We all have challenges in our lives. I think nobody has everything. I don't think we can have it all, but I think we can all try and do our best. There's a really good tool I came across last year. It's called the Wheel of Life by a YouTube creator called Ali Abdal. Really fantastic. It basically you rank yourself on 3 categories: relationship, career and money, and health. And it helps you visualize what areas of your life you are not doing as well as you want, and then you can sort of focus on those. I don't get a lot of sort of me time. Before I sleep, maybe I'll read a book or watch a YouTube video or the like. But the thing that I'll always try and prioritize for myself during the week is watching Manchester United. So, if it's 5 p.m. on a Sunday, then I'm going to be telling my wife, bedtime on Sundays is you. I'm watching United. That's the one thing that I'll always try and make time for. Through thick or thin, you got to support your team. Elder brother had a Ryan Giggs shirt, had a Ryan Giggs soccer skills book, had a little Old Trafford stadium, and then elder brother says we support Man United. We're going to support Man United. So he also took me to see a game when I was younger. And once you go to see the stadium, you're going to fall in love with the club. Probably quality time. I think quality time is important. For example, when we're having dinner, we'll say phones away. We'll sort of focus on each other. With my brother, I'll sit down and have breakfast with him. Focus time, just the two of us, no distractions. I think that's super important. A lot of my day is taken in meetings, but when I do have pockets of time, it can sometimes be hard to say what are you going to focus on, because you have 10 quick things to do that are all burning fires, and then a few deeper things that are due. So I'll generally try and compartmentalize. I'll try and keep a couple hours every morning for focus time, where I can just go through a detailed document or strategic review or set up a plan or do a proposal. And then during the day, when there's more distractions, that's when I'll fill in the small tasks. And then again at night, I'll switch back to the deeper, more focused tasks. I'm very close to my brother, and he's only about a year older than me, so we were raised very similarly. And I'll always remember that we'd gone to a lodge. I think it was on Kenya part of the country, and we were playing this game, Taboo. And it was my brother and myself against my parents, my mum and my dad. And we absolutely wiped the floor with them, because my brother and I had such a good connection. We'd just say one word, and the other person would know what we're talking about, and we win the round straight away. After a couple of hours, my parents were like, we split the teams, this is not fair at all. So having that connection is really good. I try to live life without regrets. We make the best decisions that we can with the information that we have at hand in that moment. Once we made that decision, I don't believe in looking back. Look back to learn what could we have done differently, but don't look back with regrets. Hindsight is 20/20, but at the time, you don't know the full context, so you just make the best, and then you look forward. So I always try and look forward and be positive. Second thing I always try and do is put myself in somebody else's shoes, and this applies in everything. Personally, you try and understand where the other person's coming from, try to empathize and sympathize. But even in business, in negotiation, try and put yourself in the other person's shoes. What do they really want? What do they care about? What do they need? I think that's really helped me a lot. And the third thing is what I mentioned earlier. We have one life. When you are sitting on your deathbed and you look back, what impact have you had on the world? Have you left it in a better place than when you came in? There's a little bit of travel I want to do as well. Waiting for the kids to get a bit older. Going to some of these places with young kids is just, it's not going to be fun. So there's a few different places I want to travel to. There's also a couple of different skills that you've always dreamed about doing, and maybe sometime in life you can get a chance to do them. I'd always wanted to skip. During COVID, I bought a skipping rope, just started learning, smacked myself 100 times, and now I finally learned how to skip. But just small things like that give you that feeling of accomplishment. Now a hotel. Consistency is so key, right? You got young kids, you want to make sure that is there going to be a bathtub to wash them in rather than an apartment where it may be more volatile. When my wife and I, before we had kids, we'd use a few Airbnbs, but now hotel all the way. Diani is 40 minutes away. When you land, it's a little airstrip and you're on the beach. You can be in the pool within 10 minutes of landing. That's unbeatable. It really is. And then that accessibility, you're within the same country, so your phone works. I'm almost always online, so having access to the internet and phone calls is so important. You don't have to worry about changing currency. You're just straight there. You can do a quick weekend there. For me, it's when you're sitting on the beach, even if I'm doing a little bit of work or reading a book, and you have the wind whistling through the palm trees and you have the sound of the ocean, that recharges my batteries. I'm Batman. No, I think I've been very lucky from a young age where I can stay quite calm in stressful situations. So in a crisis, and fires burning left, right and centre, I can always think calmly and think rationally, and I believe that helps me get to the best decision possible in that time. I had a massive argument with my wife about this. I wanted to buy a little pen knife, one of the multi-tools, not the old Swiss Army knives, multi-tools. I was convincing her that this is going to be the best thing I ever. I think it was $14 or something incredibly affordable like that. And ever since I bought it, I pretty much use it every day. Because now with the kids, you're opening a screwdriver, replacing batteries, you're opening packets. I love it. I've got it in my pocket all the time. That's my go-to. It's one of the few times I can tell her I told you so. The first time I saw her was on a hike in Phoenix, in the mountains, before sunrise. So I didn't even see her. First time we met, it was in darkness. I was with my cousin. She was friends with my cousin there, and we went on this hike. So we were just talking a little bit in the dark. The hike finished. It was still dark. We rushed back because my cousin had to get to work by 7 in the morning. And the first time I met my wife was we didn't even see each other. I'd say that I'm calm. I think that we're a good balance. So she's very action orientated and driven towards doing things extremely fast, and then I'll often sort of be the counterweight and slow it down a bit, think it through, and then sort of we move together, we work well as a team. I think not many people see the amount of work that's involved in the back end that goes into different things. So the way the company's set up and the role that I have means that the role means you fill in all the gaps wherever there's sort of somebody's on leave or we're under-resourced, we need someone else to help for a meeting, sort of fill in those gaps, and there's just all sorts of things that come up. So I think there's a quantity of work that's not seen behind that goes on behind the scenes, that's not seen, that people will probably not know about unless they're in the same sort of position. I think one of my friends, we had a tradition in an old company I was in where everybody sent out leaving emails and they'd thank the people that sort of had an impact on them. And one of my friends who was leaving, he just said, "Imran, thank you for being you." I think that was a very nice thing to say. The thing that really helps me for my weekends is to be deliberate. So I'll pick that sort of one thing and I'll say, that is the one thing I want to do on the Saturday, and this is the one thing I want to do on a Sunday. and I'll do those things. Now, those can be work-related or can be personal. It can be I want to take my kids and play football with them on the pitch. It could be, I want to go meet my parents or something. And if I accomplish that, I would deem that day to be a success. Oh, it's fantastic. Disney and cocomelon.
Doesn't sound fantastic.
Oh, yeah. There's some things you have a choice in, there's some things you don't.
Yeah.
So, at home on TV, it's Disney, it's cocomelon.
Yeah.
In the car, it's more Disney songs, and yeah, that's what we listen to. I think happiness is also about expectations and is about gratitude. So when you feel grateful for what you have, you tend to be happy. When you look at other people and you think about what you don't have, then you get sad. So if your expectation is that life is going to give you every single thing, you're going to be unhappy. If your expectations are sort of more grounded in where you are and how you're doing, then you can be happier. So I'd say I'm very grateful for what I've got, for the family that I've got, for the job and the sort of health side of it as well, on the wheel of life, all three sides, and that makes me very happy. That life is short and that we need to make the most of it. Health is not a guarantee. There's no, we can plan for when we're 60. There's no guarantee we're going to get there. So live life fully, live life how you want it, things that are important to you. And, when it is important to you to read to your kids, then don't put it off. You don't know, tomorrow's never a guarantee. I think from a medical perspective, I'm sure that doctors are going to be more aware of that than anybody else.